Hey everybody, Karen here, the Unpinned Creative at Unpinned Creative. Today I'm going to make a couple of tags in my Beatrix Potter Journal. The first one is fairly simple and the second one is slightly more complicated but still pretty easy. So I have this image from a children's book that I want to use, and it's a glossy it was a glossy page, so I want to tone it down a little bit by using a crackle stamp on it. It just kind of takes a bit of the gloss away, I guess. Then I used my punch to put decorative corners on the backing card, which is just a piece of scrapbook paper, and inked all around it, obviously. And now I am going to glue that image down onto the backing card. I use a combination of glue stick and white glue. And then once that has been stuck down, I want to add a little bit more to it. So I have this die cut of a flower. I'm going to ink that up a little bit, and that will go down the side there. As you probably know by now, I like to have something at the bottom of the stem. I don't just like it hanging in the middle of nowhere. So I have these punched out flowers. I'm going to cut this one exactly in half, and that's going to go at the bottom of that flower stem, and then the other half up the top of the tag there. And then I just have a little piece of a couple of leaves, and I'm going to put that at the bottom on top of that half flower. So I'm inking that up and then I am going to glue that all down. Children's book page images make really cool focal points for tags and journaling cards and things like that, especially in a journal like this. And then once that's down, I'm just going to glue the other half of that flower on up the top there. And that's it, pretty much done. I'm going to add a little tab at the top of the tag, just using a label punch and some scrapbook paper, inking all around that on both sides. I ink on the back just in case the two sides don't line up quite exactly when I fold it in half. And then I'm going to put glue all over it and attach it at the top of the tag there. I can't make it go too far down the tag because of the image. I didn't want to cover any of it up, so it is sticking up quite high, but I don't mind. And then I thought it needed something else, so I decided to add a small little layered flower. So I have, this is a die cut of a flower shape. I've inked all around the edges of it, and then I have another little die cut in a different flower shape, inking that all around. That's going to go on top, and then I have a little blue dot for the middle, which I also ink all around. And then I can glue all of those layers together, and that is my teeny tiny little layered flower. And then I'm going to glue that down onto that tab, just like that. And that is this tag done. Pretty simple, quick and easy. On the back of that, I just have some wallpaper. It's actually textured wallpaper, and I wanted to put a stamp on it. So I have this stack of books stamp. I'm using Stays On because it is wallpaper, and putting that little stamp on the back just finishes it off, I think. So now I can pop that back in its spot in my journal. I really like how it looks on that page. And then the next tag I'm going to do is for one of these side pockets. Now for this tag, I have another image from a children's book page, and I really liked both sides. I didn't want to cover one up. So what I decided to do was die cut a window of sorts out of the card that I'm going to use for this tag. The only one I had that was about the right shape was this house, so I decided to just roll with it. So I cut the house shape out of the backing card, and then I had to cut another shape out of another piece of paper for the back. So I'm using actually another different type of wallpaper for that. Just like kind of lining it up on the wallpaper because we want the two windows to match up on both sides. It doesn't matter too exactly though. So I've done that, and now I'm just making sure that both sides of the image can be seen without anything much being covered up. Then I put the first side on top of the second side, draw around it with a pencil so that I get them cut out exactly the same size with the house shape lining up, and cut that out. Trying to get the edges straight. And now I just line it all up again. At this stage, I realized there was quite a bit of white from around that image showing, so I took a splotch stamp. It's like a texture stamp of splotches, and just covered both sides of those images all around where there was any white, because I didn't really want that showing through the window. It just made it look much better, I thought. Then I lined up the two sides, made sure I could see everything I wanted to see in both images. And then for the first side, I just put glue all around the edge of that window, positioned that on the image, and then I took my scissors and trimmed the image down, any bits that were sticking over the edge. And then I went round with my glue under the edge of that image and glued them all down properly. Then for the second side, I just put glue all over the back of that piece with the window cut out and positioned that down on top, like so. At this stage, then I trimmed off any bits that were hanging over. At this stage, I realised that I had forgotten to ink the inside of that window, and that didn't work for me. So I went round as carefully as I could with my dauber and just inked around the edges of that window on both sides. Just finishes it off nicely. Then I took my decorative corner punch and punched out the corners of that tag, inked up all around both sides. And now I needed to add a bit of decoration, so I have this washi tape that I glued along the bottom of what is the second side of the tag. Glued that along the bottom, and wanted to add a little bit more in one other place. So I used a scrap that I had, put that down, and then it needed another layered flower. So I have some bigger layered flower pieces this time in 3 different shapes and sizes, and then a little circle for the middle. And I'm going to ink all around each of those and then start layering them up. So first the little dot that goes in the middle of the top layer, then I ink up the second layer, glue that top piece onto it. I only put glue in the center of the flower. I don't glue all the way out to the edges, as you can see there. And that is the flower done, and I can glue it down onto the tag. Just like that. Then I flip over to the other side, and I have a little stem with some leaves on it, and I'm going to do another layered flower on this side. So again, I am taking larger flower die cuts in various different shapes and sizes, inking those all up just with as I did with the last one, and then gluing them all down together. And that's going to go on top of the stem, so I glue that down onto the top of the stem. And then I needed something to go at the bottom of the stem so it wasn't hanging in the middle of nowhere, and found this little birdie die cut. I'm going to use that. And then I also wanted to add some more of that washi tape. So I had another piece that I tore in half lengthways. And then I inked up that torn edge, glued it, and then put it down at the bottom of that tag under the flower stem. Now I can glue that flower down, and then the little birdie at the bottom. And now for a tab for this one. So this is going into a sideways pocket, and it's kind of a sideways tag. So I took some more wallpaper, punched out another label shape, figured out where I was going to pop it on this tag. Again, I inked both sides of that label shape, and I decided this was the best place for it. Added glue and glued it down. And then it needed a little something, a little more something. So I have some leaves and a tiny little single stem flower, and I'm going to glue those together and then glue them down over the edge of that tab. And I glued the bottom of the stem under the edge of the window, so it was like it was coming out through the window shape. And that is that tag done as well. So that's two different fairly simple tags today for my Beatrix Potter Journal. I have a couple more pieces of ephemera to finish for this signature. This is the second signature, nearly done. So thanks so much for joining me again, and I'll see you in the next one.